Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Feather and Fur. Your hosts, Brad Hurlbus and
Dave Palmer.
yeah, buddy.
Long
Third
time, eh?
episode.
Yeah.
It's getting real now.
Yeah.
A little bit of a break since spring, which we kind of talked about that we are going to be more season specific and focused to start. We'll see what happens in the future, but to start a little more season specific and really put out some great quality informational episodes. And I think that's exactly what we're planning tonight.
Yeah. It's good getting back and like season's coming up. So it's time to start doing this again and talking about tips and tricks and what to be ready for.
Exactly. There's all kinds of things, right? Like it really depends on what you're doing. Like we have a big waterfowl focus and whatnot, and I'm sure we'll talk about tips and tricks there, but there's all kinds of things you can be doing right now, if not even already have started to be prepared for the season. Like the bow hunters out there, tuning your bows, making sure your broadheads are shooting, how your field tips are shooting, practicing, practicing. Because when I was a big archery hunter, like I'd shoot arrows every night, even if it was just 10 yards in my basement. I'd shoot 15 arrows a night. And really, it's the muscle memory. It's building up that stamina, building up that strength. So that way, there, when I do get the opportunities once a week to get out there and push my ranges to 40, 50, 60 yards, it's not, I have that entire week worth of build muscle, like getting consistent, working on my draw, working on that consistent hold, the consistent release. And even though it's all at 10 yards, you can fine tune it when you get out to those longer ranges.
Now, were you a believer in like say your regular shots, like, hey, I'm planning on a 20 to 30 yard shot, practicing your 50-yard shots so that you know you're capable of a 30 and 20?
Absolutely. So I'd shoot 50, 60 yards and I wouldn't hunt past 30.
Yeah. And like the further out you go, the more you see like your little errors,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the inconsistencies in your hold or the inconsistencies in your draw, your your trigger release, your lack of muscle being able to hold steady,
Yeah.
all of it's just compounded every little bit farther out you get.
Yeah. Now, what's crossbow hunting like for you guys? See, for those that don't know, I'm in Ontario and bow season, like a lot of guys just get the crossbow out. So you,
Same,
yeah,
same
start a
in
season, just
Wisconsin.
blow the dust off the thing, make sure your scope's set and you're ready to deer hunt.
I have a crossbow. I've got a compound bow. If I was to go out deer hunting right now, I'd go dial in my crossbow and make sure that's good, and I would use that only because I don't practice with a compound bow anymore.
Yeah.
I shoot my compounds and my lever bows for bow fishing. So I could get back to it pretty quickly, I think, because I am shooting a bow all summer long. Now, granted, it's like a 35-pound draw, but I am still shooting, right?
Yeah.
But I don't practice anymore. And the closest range to me to go shoot arrows at a long distance, it's an hour worth of driving.
Yeah.
It's over 30 minutes each way. And I'm more of a bird hunter. I'm more of a chasing things with my dog because my dog is what really drives me to be in the field. So for us, crossbow's legal, and I'm a big fan of if you're not going to put the time in on a compound to make sure you can take ethical shots, I'd rather you use the crossbow and just make sure the scope was dialed in.
100%. Yep. And it's getting more people out there too, right? Because a lot of people
Exactly.
don't have the time anymore. They they don't appear to have the time, right? I used to love taking the compound bow out and going shooting, and every Wednesday night there'd be a shoot and there'd be six guys out and hitting the target and talking about just everything and getting ready for the season. So I love that part of it, but I could also see the guys that, well, the game's on. I get that
Right?
too. So,
Worked all day. They want to make sure they have time. They want to focus on their family,
yep.
and that takes a priority. So I get it. I get it completely.
And everyone reaches that stage where, you're younger and you have the time to go out and actually do all those things and get prepared and do that bow hunting. And then all of a sudden you get the family and it becomes a little bit tougher.
Right?
Yeah. So,
And you want to like cherish your time a little more in the fields, and you don't get as much time. So utilize it in different ways. Like I'm perfectly okay with the crossbow. Like I know there's argument where people say more deer are shot and all, and I would love, and I've said this before, like I would love to know like how many less deer are lost than with a compound bow.
Yeah.
Like if you keep like if you don't treat it like a gun and you treat it like a bolt or an
Mhm.
arrow, because trees can deflect it. Like if you're hunting in the woods, and if you treat it and you keep within those ethical ranges of what that can do, like ethical being the crossbow probably can shoot farther than what you're actually capable of because of interference with trees, sticks, brush, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know like how many, like I truly believe less animals are lost.
Yeah.
And I can see the harvest numbers being higher, and they are, because I think there's just less animals overall lost. I know archery hunters that they wouldn't pick their bow up until the day before opening. They throw 4 hours out at 20 yards, good enough.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, good enough.
Yeah. Now there are places in the States where you can only crossbow hunt with like medical reason or yeah. Okay.
There's certain states that only allow it for medical. There's certain states that only allow it during different parts of the seasons, if I remember correctly, as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
It's a hot topic. Like it's a hot topic. I'm like, and I'm all for it. I've got a recurve bow, I've got a compound bow, I've got the crossbow. Like I can go all the way old school traditional to like not even like. And to me, it does like as long as you're out there, like I'm good with it.
Yeah. 90% of the time when you're out, you're just watching squirrels tick you off anyway, right? So
Right.
but
Right.
on to the topic of the week though. What other type of stuff should we be doing to get ready? We talk about crossbows, compound bows, checking your strings, checking all that stuff, but we're big waterfowl guys.
We are.
Yeah. Now you've got a boat. You got a big boat with a mud motor.
I do.
So
I do.
what do you like? I used to have one, and I only had it for a few seasons. But my good buddy Jason would always tell me, make sure you check your plugs, check your indexing, check your oil, and take it on a run. Those are the things that he would really reinforce with me. What things do you do?
So I do my annual maintenance right before the season. So I normally put enough hours on my motor a year because I run it all summer long playing in the river, and I use it as a party boat and like for like running people back and forth. I fish out of it, I bow fish out of it. So I'm on it all the time, like as much as I possibly can be. So I do a lot of my stuff right before the season. So I'll do an oil change. I'll do my transmit because I run a pro drive. So I'll do my oil change. I'll do my transmission fluid or my gear oil like out of the lower unit because it's gears. Um, if you have a transmission or any of that, I'd recommend just changing all your fluids right before the season starts. I also normally put enough hours on during. I do my oil changes every 25 hours. That seems like that's way more than what any manufacturer recommends. But at the end of the day, oil's cheap.
Yeah,
Like
cheaper than a motor.
cheaper than the motor. Like my motor builder, he's like, just do 25 hours. He's like, it's worth the peace of mind. So I've just gotten to the point where I do it every 25 hours. And for me, I put 50 to 60 hours on in a year. So normally I do it in fall before duck season, and then I do it in spring. For me, that's my schedule, how it kind of works out for me. But I'm changing all my fluids. I'm checking my prop. I'm going to pull my prop off, make sure like all the seals are good. And this is on an outboard or a mud motor. I pull the prop, make sure the seals are good, make sure you don't got a bunch of fishing line or anything else tangled up in there. Um, I'll check my plugs. If I need plugs, great. If I don't, I don't. I'll check my air filter. If it's the right hours or it looks like it needs to be done, I'll change that. Um, so I'll do a full motor service at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Or it's right before the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Now you're taking your boat out all summer, but some guys just wait for the season to start.
Right. So
it's also a good idea to take the boat out for a couple of runs.
Oh, for sure. And that rolls right in with scouting. Like, get your boat out, run it, chase down any demons or any gremlins that's there while you're doing some scouting. Like, you got to get out in the water anyways. Like, we both know water levels change.
Yep.
By us, cattail bogs can completely move, and what you could, and like channels on our rivers change from spring flooding. Cattail bogs move. So what was the access before? Maybe it isn't anymore. And now it's at a completely different spot. And you have to find a new way in to get through that. It's all the right time. Like August right now, it's like when we want to be doing that.
Yeah. Still nice weather. If the
Right.
boat breaks down, it's not as hard sitting out on the boat waiting for a buddy to come get you.
Exactly.
Yeah. But something that people usually forget to talk about is the actual trailer on the boat.
For sure.
Because there's lots of maintenance that you need to do on that. Like you got to make sure that your lights are working, or you got to make sure that your bearings are greased up.
Yeah. I just rewired my entire trailer last night.
Yeah.
All rewiring on my trailer.
You've been doing a lot of work to your boat too.
I have. My boat's a never-ending project, never-ending love-hate project, which just likes to beat me up.
Yeah. But
Like
one day it'll be done.
and I'll probably get a new boat and start over because I got to have a project because that's just how I work.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Like last weekend, I ripped off so the front deck of my boat didn't have matching hydroturf. It had sea deck, so I ripped that off, and then I put matching hydroturf on the deck, and then I had those catwalks installed earlier this spring, so I turfed those. I turfed the top of the gun box, so I just got all matching hydroturf in there now, and it looks super clean. Like it looks awesome. I'm really happy with how that thing turned out.
Yep.
But trailer, you're right. Wiring, make sure your wiring's good. All your lights work.
Your license plate's still attached.
If you need one, absolutely.
Yep.
Check your bearings. Jack it up and check to make sure your bearings are good. And even if they are good, and if they're good, pull them off still and repack them with grease.
Yep.
You'd be surprised like how much water can be in bearings, even if they look like even if you give them the bearing test and they feel good, you could be shocked how much water can still be in there.
Yep. And check your actual tire.
Oh yeah.
Like pressure's one thing, but also those things sit out in the sun and they rot and check your tires, look for cracks, nails, look for everything.
And don't just check it at the beginning of the year and say you're good for the whole season. Like periodically check your trailer, like check your tires, make sure everything looks good. So last fall, I did my fall maintenance like everything, and my trailer's part of my maintenance. That's why I wound up rewiring everything because I didn't like the wire that I installed last time because it wasn't to the quality of what I wanted. During early teal, I took the boat up to the Mississippi or over to the Mississippi River. Just got done launching the boat, and Brian Schiller was with me, and I walked back. I'm like, hey, when we get back, I got to put my spare tire on. There's a giant gouge out of my tire. I hit something on the way up and never even knew it. And there's this big gouge. So we got back and everything was like I go to change the tire, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's up with my bearing? Whatever I hit took out my tire and my bearing. So now we're in a parking lot at a boat launch, and changing out a complete hub. Trying to thankfully it was very standard stuff. My hub could be found at Menard. Fleet Farm had the hub. Menards had the tires already mounted on rims.
Yep.
So I could find everything local, but still it's like, oh boy, because now it's like if I can't find this, how do I even get home? Yeah.
That sounds like a fun time.
But thankfully we got it all changed out. Nothing was that bad. I didn't have any seals really want to beat me up or any of the bearing races. Those all came off the spindle fine, and it was pretty easy to swap it out.
Yeah. Now another thing people don't really think about is pull your open up your blind.
Oh yeah.
Check your grass. Check to make sure the rats didn't make a little nest in there and chew holes, and make sure your grass is all nice and done up, and maybe you need to add more. Maybe you left something from the marsh last year in there and it stinks.
Maybe it's full of mold.
Yeah.
Because if you put it away wet and you never let it dry out, depending on what you're using for grass, some of that holds a lot of moisture, and over the summer and everything, you could have a bunch of mold.
Yeah. Now you use that fake grass, don't you?
I do. Blind grass is what it's called. It's synthetic, so it doesn't hold any water or moisture.
Now
so you don't have to worry about the mildew. You don't have to worry about the mold. It doesn't rot. It doesn't start to stink. I'm a big fan of it. It is plastic, so it is a little shinier than some of the other stuff out there.
Yeah. Now, when you put it away, will it actually hold memory, creases in it or bends in it or any of that?
A little bit, not terrible, but a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. do you open it up and let it sit in the sun for a couple hours just before, like a few days before season, to let it?
Yeah, I do. But then I'll open it up and I'll go through and I'll regrass what any areas that I might feel are lacking or stuff like that.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then after you've done all that, make sure you check on all of your safety equipment. Make sure you have enough life jackets for all the guys you're going to take, because
Oh, absolutely.
sometimes midsummer you want to get out on the kayak and go out for a kayak, and you take the life jacket out. Officer pulls you over and like, oh, show me your 3 life jackets. Well,
yeah,
one's in the kayak.
Yeah.
So check all that.
Yeah. Make sure you have all the required safety equipment. Like if you need a fire extinguisher, if you need a marine radio, if you need flares, if you need a signaling device, all of that stuff. If you need flares for the water you're on, some of the federal water I'm on, I need flares at night. Like make sure your flares aren't expired.
Yep.
Flares expire. I think they're 3 or 5 years. Like make sure they're not expired.
Yep.
Like that can easily get someone in trouble.
Yep. Yeah. What other gear stuff should we be looking at before season? I mean, everybody should be practicing their shooting, their dog. Yeah.
Everyone, like a lot of people forget about the dog, and it's good to like just do some brush up, like get the dog out running again. Like if you haven't been keeping your dog active, like now's the time to start getting that dog active, going easy because it's hot. Like you don't want to give the dog heat exhaustion, but start getting that dog some energy.
Yep.
Start throwing some bumpers again, start working on that steady again, getting those refreshers in. Get the dog in the boat. And when you're out there doing some scouting and running the boat, throw some bumpers for the dog. Work out of it out of the boat. Get those refreshers going now. So that first hunt, it's not the dog trying to figure out and remember. It takes an hour for the dog remembers. Oh yeah, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
But the big thing is get your dog out doing some running.
Yep. If you have one of those dog blinds too, getting back in and out, and I don't know, maybe they put on some weight and need to remember how to turn around or get a bigger blind.
Right. Exactly. I mean, get the dog active again now, so that way there you don't have where you don't have injuries during the season, like due to not being like just being out of shape. Like those are preventable injuries.
Yeah. Yeah. Shotgun.
Oh,
Sight it in. Make sure you remember how your gun shoots. Right.
Patterning a shotgun's a big deal, and I think a lot of people skip that step. I just bought a new shotgun. I'm not going to talk manufacturer name or anything like that. I will if their customer service doesn't work out. But right now we're going to let them handle it because anybody can have an issue, right? But I went and threw it on the patterning board and it shot 70% left.
Oh.
Like it was way off.
Yeah.
I never like shooting sporting clays. I shot it pretty decent because I shoot clays a couple times a month throughout the summer. On sporting clays, I shot it pretty well. Like not enough for me to be like, there's something wrong with this. But putting it on paper, it's like, there's something wrong with this.
Yeah. That's like I got my son's first gun, and he went to shoot it, pattern it. He shot at the target, and I'm like, God, you didn't even hit the target. Like not even a pellet. And I'm going, maybe he takes after his mom in shooting. So, because I'm obviously a great shot. But then I let him go again. I'm like, okay, calm down, and shoots again, misses it. So I went up and I shot, and it was shooting way high. And I have no idea what was going on there. I sent it back, and they ended up just getting me a new gun.
Sure.
Yeah. So make sure you
pattern your shotgun.
And don't just pattern it when you get it new. Like pattern it before every season, right? Like check the ammo that you're using, right?
If you're changing ammo, if you're changing chokes, you need to pattern all that. Like I normally go through a big patterning session when I get a new gun, and I try a bunch of different shells. I'll try a handful of chokes. I'll figure out what works, what doesn't work, what I like. And then I normally don't repattern, to be honest, unless I change something.
Yeah. I always check my gun right before season. Just double check, make sure that it's still shooting the way I did. And
sure.
But I use the same gun for everything. Like I use it for turkeys, I'll use it for skeet, I'll use it for, I'm switching the chokes out all the time. And
right.
So I just do it just to make sure.
It ain't hard to throw it on the patterning board.
No, but ammo's getting expensive. So
it is.
Yeah.
And make sure it works good. Like Like I hope you did. I hope you took it apart before the end of the season and cleaned it. Because if not, like find that now before it's the night before, and all of a sudden you realize you got a fancy single shot.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of embarrassing. I've had that happen where the gun locks up when you're on a hunt camp and have to borrow someone else's gun. But it's also a good way to see what other guns work for you.
This is
You know?
true.
I
That
I
is
hadn't
true.
I hadn't shot a BPS at geese, and it was just picking them off for me. So
Oh,
it was kind of a blessing.
there you go.
I also wanted to just buy that gun right off him, but he wouldn't accept that.
Is that an old 10 gauge one?
No. It was a 12 gauge. It was a classic, but it was a beautiful gun. Yeah. Thank you to the Evanses.
Another thing I go through is like my gear, like just my clothing.
Yep.
Like I'll go through all my clothing for no matter what I'm hunting. I'll go through all my upland clothing. I'll go through my upland vest. I'll inspect it all for like tears, damage, make sure it still fits. Because there's been summers before where all of a sudden I'm like, "Oi, these pants are a little tight," right? Like,
Yep.
like I'm not the skinny 21-year-old I was back in the day. So like make sure the clothing still fits. Like that goes for like my bow hunting clothing and everything. Like make sure the clothing still fits.
Yep. Another good one to check. Put those waders on and jump in that water, bud.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no holes in that. Right.
I had a leaky pair last year I had to replace.
Yeah.
They were good until they weren't.
Yeah. There's lots of manufacturers of waders out there now, eh?
Oh yeah. And I feel like more and more keep coming.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems, is there really any advancement in waders? Like they're all the same, it seems like.
I don't know. I haven't tried like Sitka or Sheen. I haven't tried any of those. I'm a huge fan of breathable waders though.
Yep.
I'm running Final Approach. No, Drake. I'm running Drake waders right now.
Yep.
I got a pair when Gander Mountain in the States, when they were going out of business, I got a pair on like, because they were clearing everything out for $75. I'm like, well, sure. Breathable, non-insulated. Yeah, we'll try them out. And they've been awesome for me. I started wearing them last year. I wore them all in Texas when I was down there on like hunting salt flats for teal and whatnot. Like they were awesome for me. They were so great for me. Drake had an end of the season sale for full zips at like 65% off. I bought another pair right away. So now we're going to try this year, like the full zip front waders to see how much nicer that is.
Yeah. I just picked up a new set of fishing waders. They were 8 fans. I hadn't heard of them before, but just typed in waders in Amazon and they showed up and they're on $99.
Huh.
Like, that's 10 cents American, but yeah. So yeah. By the time you guys ship that stuff up to us and duties and customs and shipping and materials and all that, it's expensive to get stuff up here.
Oh, so. I'm sure. I know. We just acquired 2 companies up there, so I'm familiar.
Yep. Oh well, it's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, clothing, like I'll go through all that, make sure like my clothing's all good, like make sure it fits. I'll look through it. Like, were there any pieces I was missing last year that I might want to get before the season starts while I can still get it? Like, I'll think about stuff like that.
Yep.
Checking waders is a good thing. Like you said, like make sure they don't leak. You don't want like early season's not so bad. Worst case scenarios, you're a little wet. Like if you don't hunt early season and you're just a late season, you better check your season. You might want to check them while they're warm because when that's how I found my leak. Everything was fine till it wasn't, and it separated from the boot a little bit, and I was out breaking ice to launch the boat, and all of a sudden my foot got. All of a sudden I'm like, why is my foot cold? And I'm like, uh-oh, my foot's wet.
I was just about to say, like, is there such a thing as only cold weather waterfowlers?
I bet there are.
I don't know. Most of the guys I know, they're oh yeah, I'm a huge waterfowler, and then it's, you know, cold weather comes and it's warm bed's nice.
So I might be probably one of the closest ones to it because I'll do a little bit for early season, but then once grouse hunting's opened up, I grouse hunt end of September through all of October. I'm out chasing grouse.
Yeah.
I don't start waterfowl hunting until I don't really start to hunt hard until the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. And the other type of people are the ones that duck season opens or goose season opens, so they do that until deer season opens, and then
Sure.
it's just tree stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I find the cold weather and the best duck hunters are when most of the duck hunters aren't out, which is nice. Yeah.
I would agree. There is less hunters for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Pro tip: when a storm's coming in, snow, probably a good time for the ducks. I'm not
Yeah.
a pro, but I'm just saying that that's something that someone told me once, and it's yeah.
I look for storms. Like I look for like, and it not even necessarily a storm. Keep an eye on the wind.
Yep.
Like I'm just on the eastern edge of the Mississippi Flyway. So if I see there's a strong northwest wind that's going to push birds off that migratory path that can push them farther to me,
Yep.
regardless of snow, rain, or whatnot. Like I watch weather, like, and a lot of time with the weather is those fronts and those winds. So it all plays together. But I'm watching the wind.
Yep.
Because if you got weather coming in and it's a strong northeast wind or an east wind, that's not going to move a lot of birds to me. It really isn't. Not where I'm located. But if I've got a strong northwest, northwest, west, or a west wind, that's going to push birds my way from the Dakotas. Or I like that's going to push Dakota birds towards me, and that makes a big difference.
And that makes you happy.
Oh yes.
Right? Yeah, you give that northwest wind and a nice little pressure drop pre-storm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now, like, if you were on the west side of the Dakotas, you probably want a strong northeast wind so those birds move towards. So you really got to look at where like the mass like part of your flyway is, like where the big migration comes through, and then look to see which wind can push birds, and they can get pushed miles and miles and hundreds of miles off their main flight paths over with strong winds.
Yep. And that's where you get to see some of those interesting birds. Like last year, I photographed a speck, and like those aren't birds for here.
Sure.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, I know there was a harlequin shot on Lake Michigan.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's wild. Like that's crazy. It was a juvenile harlequin. I'm sure it was lost and got even more lost. But that's crazy.
Yep. I don't. The weather change and the bigger winds last year and the warmer temperatures and all that stuff. Well, look at that. You got a mullet teal end of November, didn't you? Or mid-December?
Last weekend in November. Yeah.
Yeah, like, man,
Yeah.
things change. Things are different.
Like you get those hardy ones that like you'll occasionally get, like they're very slim pickings, but you'll still have some hardy ones hang out if the season's right.
Yeah.
And that was after a freeze.
Yeah.
That's what was really crazy. That was after a hard freeze where a lot of our marshes froze and then opened back up.
Yeah.
So that was real crazy for me.
I still think that was when you sent me that picture. I was just like, oh, why didn't you send me this when you shot it like a month ago? Like, yeah.
Well, that was wild because I shot 2 within a week.
Yeah.
I shot one end of November, like one right around Thanksgiving, and then one the weekend after, the day before our duck season closed.
Yeah. So other
What about
preseason stuff. What's that?
one for you? Because I know this is gonna be right up your alley. What about your calls? What do you do to tune up your calls?
I clean them, check the corks, check the reeds, make sure they're blowing right, sounding right. I've been sitting here for the last month practicing them, practicing in the car, like on the way to work, just blowing the call on the way to work and back, right? Making sure I'm tuned up as well. So
It's a musical instrument.
100%. And like people don't realize, like, my call sounds different this year. Well, yeah, your cork's worn out.
Sure.
Right. That's why some of them will come with an extra cork, just so you can put that in there and it'll tune it back up. Right. You got to make sure it's all cleaned out too. Like, especially guys that do chew when they're calling, like, make sure that's cleaned out.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
If you like hunting fields too, like hunting fields, I always like, I don't know how it happens, but like when I cut cornfields, like I get corn stalks in my shotgun. I get them in my calls. They're everywhere. I don't know how it possibly happens, but corn stalks get in everything.
Yeah. And those little seeds on the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like spits too. So sometimes I'll get like a seed in there. Just chewing a spit like the,
Sure.
you probably got the same sunflower seeds, right?
Sunflower seeds. Yep.
Yeah. So you doing the sunflower seeds, and then all of a sudden the bird comes in, you still got a little piece and it gets in there. So yeah, but I check that every week or so, just make sure that they're cleaned out and stuff like that, right? So I've also had it where one of the guts fell out of my call once. So I went to blow a goose call and it's just straight air coming out the bottom. So yeah.
Which one is it? The green one up there is notorious for that.
Yep.
Happened to me twice last year. It's never happened to me before, but twice last year. And somehow I found all the parts at different times.
Oh.
I couldn't find, because you've got the tone board, the reed, and then because it's a goose call, so you got the tone board, the reed, and then you got the wedge, right?
Yep.
I found the tone board and the reed and couldn't find the wedge. Couldn't find the wedge. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the wedge showed up in my truck.
Wow.
Okay, so now where's the tone board and the reed? Because I'm like, oh, I already threw it away, I bet, because I couldn't find the wedge.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, because I didn't, but I'm like, I was able to put it back together, and I'm like, I got it back together, and the week later, it did the same thing. I'm like, what is going on with this call?
Yeah. No, some guys just get that call out morning of and they're going, but yeah, I like to be tuned up a little bit before and blow the duck calls, blow the goose calls, make sure I'm still able to hit all those notes that I normally do.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't do I used to think it was fun to sit here and practice doing the whatever the contest calls and seeing if I could do the same stuff that they do. I just keep it simple now. Just do the simple stuff that I'm going to do in the field, and that's good enough.
Agreed. I do what I practice how I'm going to call in the field is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah. I'm probably a little early on the duck calls. Been doing it for a bit, but yeah. When you practice in the car, do you put your head hearing protection in?
I would I'd put headphones on when I don't drive anywhere anymore though.
Oh.
I work from home. I literally don't drive anymore. I practice my duck calls in my basement when my wife's at the gym.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she goes nuts when I do it and she's home.
Yeah.
Or if she takes the dog for a walk and I don't go, I'll practice them then.
Yeah. Oh man, my dog, when I'm practicing calling, he thinks something's dying. She's just howling at me, thinking it's time to go hunt. Oh.
My lab was that way. My Griff really doesn't care at all.
Oh, if I put camo on, she goes nuts. Just time to hunt. Let's go. She knows what my hunting gear looks like. So
yeah. Pippa's not really that way. She's just never really been like that. My lab, you grabbed a shotgun case, or if he heard a bell, because he was a huge, he loved to grouse hunt. He would much rather run fields for grouse than than waterfowl or pheasant or any, he loved grouse hunting, and I'd run a bell on him. He heard that bell ding, you could not get him settled down. You couldn't. He's like, It's go time. Put me in that truck. We are going.
Yeah.
So when he was retired and I had Pippa, and I'd have to be careful and make sure he couldn't hear. Otherwise, he'd get all jacked up, and then we would leave, and my wife would text me 45 minutes later and be like, this dog is still going bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
His hips won't allow him to do this.
Yeah. Speaking of wives, that's another preseason tip. Take her out to dinner a couple times, because you're going to be spending a lot of time. Well, hopefully you're spending a lot of time out there, right?
Play nice now so you get nice later. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. The pre-sorries. Hey, Yeah, last year my dog, she ran into a piece of metal, and it tore her side open, so she couldn't hunt all season. She had this great big tear. So anytime I go, it'd be I gotta sneak out, pretend I'm going to work, and then change outside in a different room, and come back, and the second you came back with a goose or a duck, and she'd just be in the backyard smelling it, and at the fence, trying to jump over the thing, and I felt bad for her, but accidents happen, I guess.
They do. This season be all good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's she's slowly working the weight off. She kind of got lazy. She was injured. She couldn't run around. She couldn't. So yeah, slowly still working that off, but she's raring now. And I got a new property, so got a lot more room to let her run around. And back when I had the old house, I'd take her out back and train her, but like I couldn't throw it very far. Well, you only got 70 feet. Now this place, you got over 100. She can run and go and just loves it. So yeah, I think this season's going to be good for her.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about ducks. We talked about bows. Tree stands, man. Got to make sure you check those
tree stands,
too.
yeah.
Like we are feather and
especially if you got a right. Especially if you got property that you just leave stands up. Go make sure the straps aren't dry rotted. Go loosen them up like trees grow, right? If you got ladder stands, go out there, loosen the straps, get those ladders tight again, and strap them back down. Make sure that strap's not dry rotted. Don't wait till the end of the season. Like get in there and do that now so the woods can settle back down before hunting season.
Yeah.
Check for your shoot. Like if you're not on, like if you got private land, like check your shooting lanes. Make sure you don't have branches that have grown in your way and things like that.
Yep. Make sure there's no corn accidentally put down if you're not allowed to have it there. Have you seen that video of the guy walking with a big bag of corn and he trips? Hopefully the deer don't get near it. Yeah. So,
but check your tree stands. Yeah, check if your hang-ons, climbers. Make sure your cables are good. Make sure the straps for your steps are good. Those saddle guys. Make sure your harnesses are good. Your ropes are good. Double check all that. Like your life can depend on some of that stuff. Make sure your harness, like for guys in tree stands, make sure your safety harness is good. Make sure that's not got any cuts and tears, and you remember how to put it on properly.
Yeah, like you said, make sure that the shooting lanes and there's no deadfall in there that's got in the way and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Check your guns. Go out and go out now and throw some throw some lead down range. Make sure everything's sighted in. Don't wait until 2 weeks before the season when everybody's at the range and like it turns into this panic. Like get out there now. Like if you get out there now, like your zero's not going to change between now and when deer season starts, unless you drop your gun, which that's just then you got to go fix it. But like you can go out and you can zero your gun now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good when the range isn't busy.
It is. Because like it was last year I went to the range with a buddy who had to sight his gun in, and I'm like, I'll just shoot mine. I'm like, man, I am just not getting the consistency that I was. And I come to realize, like, as I was sitting there, it's when I first shot that gun, I was all there all alone. Like no one was there. Like the range was silent. Like, and the big thing is the bench was steady. What I realized is like every time someone shot, because it's just a giant bench with people on it, every time someone shoots, the bench moves a little bit.
Yeah.
And trying to time your shots in between, that's next to impossible. So you were getting these weird inputs into your shots. So yeah, go when the range isn't busy.
Yeah. What's your typical range when you're sighting in your gun there?
100. I sight in at 100.
Yeah. Does your range go any bigger?
The free range I go to is 100. There's some other ranges I can go to that can go to 300.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a shooting club by us that has 1,300.
Wow.
I've not done that.
No.
I can't do that. Like I don't even have I don't even think that I could do it with that rifle. I know I personally can't do it. I don't even think I own a rifle that can do it.
Yeah.
Even with a better shooter, I don't know if I own a rifle that can do it.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. What else is coming up for you guys down there? Grouse is coming up.
Grouse is coming up. That's checking clothes over and all that. Like one thing I actually just did, which we didn't even touch base on, is make sure all your batteries are good for all your decoys.
Yep.
Like make sure your battery, like boat battery as well. Make sure your boat batteries are good. Make sure like those aren't real old. Make sure like if you haven't put those on a charger all year, you might want to go get them tested to make sure they're not junk from sitting, right? Like go put them on it, go take them somewhere to your local auto parts zone that tests batteries for fee and have them load test it just for peace of mind. Um, I always bring a little jump box with me as well in my boat just to make sure if somehow I would kill the battery or the battery would die, I can get the motor started.
Yep.
But like all my decoy batteries as well for my spinners, my pumps, my pulsators, my
Headlamp.
headlamp. Oh, yeah, batteries. Recharge them. Make sure they're good. Replace them if they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Covered quite a lot.
We did. I mean, the only other thing I do is, but this is pretty standard, is I make sure my truck's good. Like, cause I do a lot up north grouse hunting. Make sure your tires are good. Like if
Yep.
you're a field hunter or you're running a lot of 2-track roads and fire roads, like make sure your tires are good. Like make sure your truck's in decent shape and you have the ability to self-recover if you're going to be in areas where you might need to recover.
Yeah. Make sure your license is up to date.
Yeah. That's a big one, right? Like make sure you have all the licenses you need.
Yeah. Imagine that. Like for us, it's turkey season that it happens. Like go to buy a turkey tag, like, oh crap, my hunting license is expired. I better buy that too. And right.
Well, like in Wisconsin here, like most people get their conservation patron license in spring because that's when everything expires. So you buy it in April. But if I remember right, in April, you can't buy your duck stamp yet. So it's very easy to forget about, like, it's on a list, post-it note right in front of me so I can go to the post office this week to get it because I don't have mine yet.
Yep. But up here we have a actual gun license and it expires every 5 years, right? So mine expires next year.
All right.
It's 6 months before. It takes sometimes up to 6 months to get it back. So you got to apply 6 months before to make sure it's in time.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's.
So every 5 years you have to renew.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite the little form you fill out, and if you're divorced, you got to put your ex-wife's name on there and all that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Do they actually follow up and check with the ex-wife and whatnot, or?
I don't know. I hope I don't have to find that one out. So, yeah, that might be just the initial application.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't done. There's now an online version, so this will be my first time doing the online. So I'll try
maybe
and follow
it'll go
up.
a little quicker.
Maybe, or maybe I'll get lost again and. Yeah. So. Yeah, not a big fan of technology, stuff like that, right? So we just got this new house and my friggin' mortgage payments, somehow my son's account got linked to it and the mortgage came out of his account instead of mine. I'm going, how did that happen? So
weird.
Yeah, technology, man.
Weird.
I'm telling you.
But I mean,
AI and robots and shit.
If your son's going to pay the mortgage, man, I don't know if I'd complain. I mean, thanks, son.
Yeah. He's not willing to pay it.
No.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's my preseason routine, like boat and trailer and kayaks. Kayaks are pretty simple.
My big thing with the kayaks is making sure I have all the little pieces for I hunt out of the unlimited the most.
Sure.
And you got to have those little clips for the blind.
Yep.
So damn straight every year I lose them. And we just moved. So it's like, where are they? I'm still looking for them. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, get all that organized and make sure you got everything you need to attach your blinds. If you're using a blind on your kayak, make sure I normally keep all my gear organized. So right now, because I'll go through it and I'll make sure I know where my paddle is, my life jacket, dry box, anything I want to put in a dry box or dry bags or whatever else I normally take with. Find all that, get it all put together and put it in a tote or put it with the kayak or make that way there. When season comes, you've already done all the prep work. Another thing I do is I clean my decoys. Didn't even think about talking about that. I clean my decoys.
Yep.
Make sure they're not all covered in mud and everything from the last hunt.
Yep. You also carry a safety bag for your boat. What do you have in that? because we were just talking about that, and I thought it
I
was
do.
neat because something that happened to us once was the fuel line went bad when we were already at where we were, and the one guy had to sit there holding the fuel line on while the other guy drove the boat just to get us back.
So I keep a small toolkit. Like I keep a motorcycle. It's actually like a motorcycle toolkit, and then like I got a spark plug wrench and a channel locks and zip ties. But I keep hose barbs and hose clamps and a piece of fuel line, so I can patch a fuel line if I would ever need to. Um, Back when I had a motor where I thought I needed it, I'd keep extra spark plugs. I don't really anymore. I don't have that issue. But when I had a carbureted motor that maybe didn't always want to run the hottest for me, and I might foul spark plugs, I'd keep extra spark plugs on me. Um, I keep a full set of fuses. Like any boat my fuse might have, I have a spare or two of.
Yep.
The emergency jump box, that's another one.
Yep.
I have a first aid kit. I keep a first aid kit in my boat too. That it's pretty comprehensive, to be honest. Like tourniquet, quick clot, compression bandages. Like it can stop a bleeder if I need to.
Mm-hmm. Do you keep anything extra for your dog?
I do. I have a first aid kit for my dog as well.
Yeah. Is it a pre-made one, or did you put it together yourself?
I put it together myself. There's some amazing pre-made options out there as well. But I keep a first aid kit for my dog. So I keep it with it's normally in my upland hunting vest, and I'll grab that if the dog's with me and we're duck hunting. My last pup didn't duck hunt real much. Like we were really upland focused. I've got the new pup coming, and it'll be definitely a little bit more like waterfowl mixed in. Younger, going to be able to just trudge through the mud and like really have that drive again.
Yeah.
I'll probably have another kit. I'll probably keep one in the boat for the dog and one in my hunt or in my so one of the I have field kits and a truck kit for the dog. So I have a small compact field kit, and then I have a way more supplied truck kit also. So truck kit's always in the truck, but I'll probably put together or buy another field kit to keep one in the boat then, and then one for upland hunting.
And what kind of stuff did you put in that?
Oh, I've got a list for that, but I don't think I actually kind of want to hold off on this conversation, to be honest, because it's a little teaser. We actually have a veterinarian coming on in a couple weeks that offers first aid kits, and she's going to talk us through what's in her kits, how to use some of the products. So let's see what her list is, and then we'll compare it to how bad mine is.
Yeah. We should actually get you to do a video first. Put it up on the YouTube.
I could.
Yeah. And then compare.
I could do that.
Or just get the right one.
Or just buy the right one.
Yeah.
And have the knowledge of how to use it, because I think she even has some videos on it, how to use some of that stuff.
Oh, it's good. Really good.
We'll confirm all that, but that's a little teaser of an upcoming episode.
Yeah. You got a lot planned. There's a lot of good episodes coming up.
I think so.
Yep.
That one. I'm real excited for one coming up with a pretty well-known shotgun instructor that's going to talk to us about shotgun fit and the importance of it, and then like some shooting tips and tricks, like how to hone your skills and like some things you can practice.
Yep.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the dog for the dog field episode, the field care episode, like go over those first aid kits, learn to maybe some tips and tricks, how to use them, like the bare minimums of what to bring in the field with you. Like here's like recommended, like what to keep in your truck for backups, or like get them out of the field, and like what do you need to do to get them out of the vet type stuff. So I'm excited for that episode, and there's some more cooking that aren't confirmed yet, so I don't want to talk about them, but there's some more coming.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a good season.
I think so as well.
Yep.
Well, yeah, this was fun. This was a good episode.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be back. I really enjoy doing this. It's fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to kick the season off, and good preseason episode to start, and then we'll keep rolling here with some more content coming.
Yep. Sounds good, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Well, to all the listeners, I appreciate you tuning in as always. And until next time, keep chasing that experience.